up the stress level. No, don't do it. Get a grip. This stupid video I just showed you. I almost stroked out and died over it. You're watching a different show. You donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. Good night for Notre Dame football, I guess. Like, I'm not sure exactly what you guys were expecting from this first ranking reveal and where Notre Dame would fall and what the rationale would be and the way the board would drop. I had major questions about what this committee was going to value and how they were going to measure it and keep it consistent. I think to start this off, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you got to be pretty content and pretty pleased about how last night went for you in this first bracket. That's kind of where my baseline's starting at. I don't think you could complain about Notre Dame's positioning in this initial bracket. There are some teams ahead of Notre Dame you could quibble with, but can you really, when you're Notre Dame and you want to be the outlier, you want to be the independent, you don't want to be beholden to this conference stuff where it's easy to see where you stack up. Notre Dame doesn't want to do that, and that's all right. But you're bringing Northern Illinois to the table. And I would contend any Notre Dame fan that maybe wanted to move up here or has a beef with where Indiana is or the Penn State thing still bothers me. The Penn State thing still bothers me, but is there any other team in America being considered for this field that's bringing a loss as bad as Northern Illinois to the table? This is where, you guys, this is where I'm sort of looking at this from. Think about it. JCar, Ward Emanuel needs to make some lifestyle changes. He does. And number one is his personality needs to completely change and the way he tries to cover up scandals instead of do the right thing when you're in charge of an entire athletic department. All right. That's one part. And so my main man, Martinez, we're not doing that. Please don't I don't want to do that today. I want to make it about football, man. I love you. I want to make it about football. This is a place for football. Yeah, Ward Emanuel. Whatever, man. I don't trust that guy. But I think they did Notre Dame fair. But yeah, he looks real bad, and he is real bad. So it all makes sense. It all makes sense. How about this? This is going on a shirt. Callers, I'm coming right to you. I really am coming to you. But here, this is my initial thought, you guys. The initial thought is, I think they handled Notre Dame pretty fairly. And I challenge any of you. Can you come up with a loss worse than Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois for a team being considered? For a team being considered for this playoff, bring me one that has a worse loss than Northern Illinois. Then you add in the part. He's been borrowing Weiss's belts. Yeah, he's been sewing them together at the end. Find me a team competing for this playoff that has a worse loss than Northern Illinois. Then you add in the independents, that it's not even like you're doing good in a conference and you have a good conference record, but just that one outlier loss early in the season to a non-conference opponent, whatever. You don't have that. So with Notre Dame having the worst loss of the group and not being tethered to a conference when the whole committee is conference loyal people, I think Notre Dame ended up pretty good in this thing. I think Notre Dame ended up pretty damn good in this thing. I really do. And it's going to get real interesting. If you look ahead at the schedules here, a lot of these teams ahead of Notre Dame either have tough other games they're playing, or some of them are crisscrossing and playing each other. And to me, that means if Notre Dame keeps winning, you should keep moving up. I didn't see anything goofy to where like 2-loss SEC teams are jumping undefeated teams from another conference, or even a 2-loss Alabama is sitting behind Notre Dame. Like there was nothing that bizarre that it stood out to me as like, oh man, this is going to be a problem for Notre Dame. Like no matter how much we win, they're going to put a 3-loss Alabama ahead of us or something. Like I didn't see anything that's like totally red alert. Totally alert of like, this is bad for Notre Dame. Look at the precedent they're setting. I just didn't see a lot of that. I do think it's obvious the Big Ten and the SEC are the two main conferences that are getting most of the attention and most of the teams in. They got what, 4 each? You got 12 spots and you got 4 from each of those conferences already in the mix there. So those conferences are going to dominate. That shouldn't surprise anybody. I feel pretty good about where Notre Dame's at. I really do, man. And what I'm hoping is now that you got the answer and now that you see kind of where we're at and the light at the end of the tunnel, and you kind of, I feel a little relief, like at least in the first go around, this committee didn't stick it to Notre Dame or try and prove a point about Notre Dame's independence or whatever. You really are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And you just need to keep winning. And I think you could slide into a hosting seed. I genuinely do, if they follow suit to what they're doing. What is this? Robert Walker. Let's see. Johnny, you talked all that about Penn State. I'm sorry, you're not Michigan or Iowa State. You get spanked in Happy Valley. What are you... Robert Walker, are you drinking Johnny Walker for breakfast? What are you talking about? You think Notre Dame is scared to play Penn State? Are you outside of your mind? Your name should be Johnny Walker, which is what you put in your cereal in the morning and eat it. What are you talking about? Notre Dame's not afraid to play. Penn State can't even score an offensive touchdown when they play a real team. You think Notre Dame's scared of that team? It'd be one of the better matchups in the group for Notre Dame to play Penn State. Seriously, Johnny Walker Red, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? What? Unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know where I don't know where you're coming from. I talked all that about Penn State and I was justified because I have no idea what this comment means. Number one is, I don't recognize your name that off. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. So maybe you're new or whatever. But yeah, you talked all that about Penn State. Yeah, and I was justified in everything I talked about. So I have no idea what you're coming at me for when I was proven right. Yeah, I ran my mouth about Penn State, and then the game happened, and I was proven 100% correct. They couldn't even score an offensive touchdown in the biggest game of the year. So Johnny was proven 100% correct. I'm sorry, you're not Michigan or Iowa State. What are you talking about? I wouldn't want to be. You think I'd want to be Michigan? Do I look like I have a big mullet? Do I look like I'm married to my sibling? And you better be careful when you talk about getting spanked in Happy Valley. You kidding me? Wow. Unbelievable. So let's do a couple super chats. That escalated quickly. And then my main man Martinez might want to hop in and then go drop the big super chat. I'll put him in here and let him go. And I got some good calls here. We're going to get to you guys. Topics on the board. 312-900-8815. Call Uncle Johnny Boy. Tell him all you've heard and seen. I want to know what you make of Notre Dame's positioning at 10th in the initial rankings. I want to know what you make of Notre Dame, Florida State. Something on my mind, you guys. I want to know. I saw a Philly special in here talking about it already. I want to know this from you, from the group. Does anybody have a fear that the vibe in Notre Dame Stadium is going to be kind of off? Because you're building up this big game, night game moment. They're going to do the light show and the DJ, the whole thing, circus they're going to do. But the team coming in is horrible. And I'm just wondering if you think that there could be a high level of excitement with Notre Dame's playoff push, even though you have this big night game, but the opponent's not living up to the moment. I want to know what you guys make of that. Phil says, I still hope the place is electric. So do I. And I do have a couple thoughts about that. I don't think you're going to get a lot of wine and cheesers. I don't think you're going to get a lot of wine and cheesers. You know why? It's a night game. It's November, not September. So when that sun goes down, it's going to be cold. It's a night game. A lot of the big money, big Notre Dame strokers I know on the Illinois side of the border, they don't want to get home at 1 a.m. That's too long of a day, and they're not paying $1,000 for a hotel room or whatever just to go to the game. Those people don't go to the game. On the Illinois side, they don't want to get back at 1, 2 a.m. These bankers, these rich people I know that have season tickets, they're not doing that. Too long of a day. They don't care about the football enough. They're not doing it. So the game is November, not September. So it's going to be kind of chilly when the sun goes down. They don't like that. It's a late game. They don't want to get home at 1 or 2 a.m. And, oh, by the way, it's a team that has 78 losses. So I don't think you're going to have a wine and cheese crowd because none of those people are going to this game. They're not. They're, for all the reasons I just said, they're not going. They're going to give their tickets to their 25-year-old kid who's going to drink 90 natty lights in the parking lot. Let's go. I'm here for that. Anyways, let me do the super chats. Renee, I'll get you in and out going. Everybody, if you're on the line, I'm going to get to you. John, I'm worried. These SEC teams don't play. They move up. Notre Dame doesn't play. They move down. I have faith in Notre Dame, but I don't have faith in this committee. Is 11-1 good enough? 80s guy, I do not share this worry. 11-1 Notre Dame to me is in the field 100%. It's simply a matter of navigating into a hosting seed. I think that's what the first ranking showed me. If you had SMU above Notre Dame or something like that, then I'm worried in a different way. The precedents they set of what they value already with this initial seeding tells me 11-1 Notre Dame's in 100%. This is all a matter of navigating yourself into a 5 through 8 so you can get a hosting seat. To me, that's the whole deal now. That's the whole thing now. That's what this is about, is continuing to win enough and have those other teams cancel each other out or lose or do whatever that you could bump up and end up hosting. So that's why I don't understand why people are looking at that Penn State Notre Dame matchup like that's what it's going to be. No, that is not what it's going to be. That's just what it is week 1. This is all going to change. It's all going to change. I saw a bunch of people, I love that Penn State matchup. That ain't what it's going to be. This is the first one of 6 of these. This is all going to change. So I don't know. Mikey Pulls, $5 hour. Morning, John. I have a big powerlifting competition Friday morning, so I'll sadly miss the show. ND's right where they need to be. Keep winning. First off, good luck on the powerlifting competition. And by the way, I have won 2 that day, and I think I'm going to bring home the gold. Mikey. So good luck to you with that. Here's the other thing about Friday morning. I don't want to overpromise. I may or may not have something special for you guys Friday morning, totally off the grid, off the cuff, unexpected, that I think you will like. I'm not going to promise it, but I may have something for you Friday morning that could be really interesting, something new, something we've never done here, something new that I think you'll find interesting, and you will know the people involved, and it'll be really interesting. So stay tuned for that. My main man Martinez with the $50 holler. There you go, Johnny. That's very generous of you, man. You're taking care of my my phone lines. Look at this. What's going on today? My lawyer in Michigan, $100 holler from Eric. Today is a glorious morning. Dodge another bullet. I'm assuming we're talking about the playoff field. Notre Dame's in it. That's what we're talking about. We dodged that. Getting screwed by the committee, and we're in. Eric, thank you, man. Lawyer up in Michigan. I'm going to need you. My main man, Martinez, with the $100 holler. Man, you guys are on a roll today. You're on a roll today. I need a John food review like I need water and air. You guys got to give me a food. All you guys got to do is give me a food, and I will rant about it. Like, what do you want to do? You want to throw me a salad and have me do the salad rant and talk about how it's crunchy water and I don't understand how anybody eats it? Like, we could do that all you want. You want me to get mad about bring up salad? It is crunchy water, and I don't understand how anybody enjoys it. Apple pie. The problem with the apple pie is I don't usually associate dessert with fruit, bro. I associate fruit with like your mom being like, you got to eat your fruits and vegetables. That ain't dessert. Fruit is not dessert to John. All right? Can we be clear about that? Fruit is not dessert. And salad is crunchy water. It's the biggest scam in America. Let me weed eat my lawn, put it in a bowl, and then you with your man bun feel like you're eating healthy. I don't understand the whole concept of salad. I never have. Do I look like a rabbit? Do I look like the Easter bunny eating a salad? Are you out of your mind? Uncrustables. My daughter likes the Uncrustables, bro. No edges, that circle, just peanut butter and jelly. She likes it. So I don't do salads, man. I don't understand. It's Chicago deep dish pizza. That's a one and done for me. Look at how skinny I am. That is one piece and I'm done because that thing is 4 inches thick. I would rather have, honestly, like, you feel like you're going to expire when you eat a couple pieces of that thick. It's just too thick, man. Like, I know this is sacrilege living in the Chicago suburbs. I would rather have like the 5 New York slices that are thin that don't make me feel like my innards are going to explode than 1 8-inch thick of whatever it is. I don't know, man. All right. We got to get to these calls. My main man, Martinez, you put up a lot of money this morning. Let's bring you up first. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the line. Again, what I want to know is Florida State. Any thoughts about that? Is the sardines? Are you sardines? What ceviche? I don't even know what that is. Sardines, you're outside your mind. For bait, maybe. Sardines for bait. Yeah, you hook one on, you throw it in the river, and you catch fish, and then you throw them back. So I don't know what to tell you about that. So topics on the agenda is playoff. What do you think about the 10 spot? Florida State. Are people going to not be as excited because of who they are and how bad they're playing? My main man, Martinez, what's going on? You're up first. What's up, buddy? Hey, thanks for the donations, man. It goes for the phone lines. You know, I'll keep it going.
You're welcome, brother. I love to support the fan base. Like I said, it's never nothing personal, man. I love you guys. So that's about what I hope that satisfies you. So
why do you sound like you're so far away? Were you on speaker or something? You sound far away today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There you go. 100% better. Okay. What do you think of the 10 seed, man? Thanks for the donation. Really means the world to me. What do you think of that 10 seed?
The 10 seed, I think it's legit. I do. You said it best, Johnny. That one of your callers on Monday said, "Oh, let's get over NIU." No, that's a bad loss. That's a bad loss. That made me remember. I got into it with Luke. I got into it with Andrew Gilmore. I got into it with people for Freeman. I was the biggest believer in Freeman because he embodies everything what Notre Dame is: God, family, Notre Dame. And I lost faith in him. No, you don't bet over that, man. That is a bad loss. And the fact that he said, we never thought about putting it in jelly. No, you don't get over it. It's the truth. Johnny, you are 100% correct. That is the worst loss in Notre Dame history. Andrew Gilmore, me and him go, we butt heads. That's the worst loss in Notre Dame history. It really is. No.
Yeah, listen, Here's how I look at it. If you were going to have one of those losses that follows you around like a bad shadow that you can't really shake, if you were ever going to do it, this is the year to do it because you have the leeway in a 12-team field to be able to lose that game and still have your dreams in front of you. And that's the position Notre Dame's in. Right. You got to win 4 more games, though, damn it. I'm telling you, man, I'm getting nervous with people talking about, can we get a home game and all this stuff? You got to win these 4 games. You've gone too far now since week 2 without a loss to drop one now. You got to keep winning.
No, and I agree, Johnny. And I've heard, I've listened to the chat. I've just been listening, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I don't ever like to put it out there that I'm an expert in those guys, but I've coached and I've played with a lot of dudes that have played on big time level. Like I said, Stanley Havili, we're too guapo. Stanley Havili won a Rose Bowl. We're too guapo, won a Super Bowl. Fui Rakapuna, he played at BYU. Dudes that backed me up playing. But here's the thing, the reason why I don't like to throw it out there, but the truth be told is, like I told you, I knew that Oregon team, that's the best team in the country, hands down. Okay? But what I'm telling you, as far as this stuff, man, as far as NIU loss, that's a bad loss, man. It's a bad loss. And Florida State, to take anybody else with a grain of salt, man, like you can't anymore. There's no room for error. There really isn't.
Yeah.
Like there's not.
Yep. I think I think you're right. I got to tell you, man, I was relieved when I saw this bracket come out. There was nothing totally egregious to me that I'm 100% like see the angle and it's wrong. Like I genuinely feel like this is a pretty fair setup. And any complaints Notre Dame people have about where Penn State is or Indiana is or whatever, those are two that I see people like talking about. Don't lose to Northern Illinois, and then you can have a beef. But I just don't think you can complain that much when you're bringing Northern Illinois to the table. You get what you get, and I say take the 10 and be happy and just keep winning.
Amen. Hey, is Condoleezza Rice still on the board?
Is what?
Condoleezza Rice, is she still on the board?
I do not believe so. I think that was a long time ago. I'm pretty sure I just looked that up the other day. Pretty sure she's not on the board.
You know she went to Notre Dame, right?
Yes, I do. Not and an honorary member at Augusta National. I think she was one of the first women. That's one thing I'll always remember about her, getting access to that golf course and all that, running in those circles. But I do not believe she is on the. I do not believe she's still on the board.
You know, Johnny, you said it best. Like a good win doesn't overcome a bad loss. It doesn't, man. And you know, I'm sick of hearing these dudes, man, talk about this and that. And Johnny, I don't mean to be an asshole to you, but the Big Ten's only had two teams the last 50 years, man. Michigan and Ohio State. Okay? And I've told you the SEC, man, every decade they have two teams that are dominant. Notre Dame, hands down, has been the best team in the country. You see these teams now struggling the way they do because they have to actually travel and play teams that they never would unless they're in bowl games. Oregon, hands down, they're just that dominant, man. They really are. Notre Dame, hands down, has been the best team in the country for the last decade. Why? Because they got to travel to SC. They got to travel to Duke. They got to travel up to Syracuse. And Johnny, the only reason I say that is because we're giving these conferences, these people too much credit. And, you know, I heard in the last show about Dabo Sweeney and Louisville, Dabo and Louisville. Hey, man, Dabo was the only coach in the last decade to give the SEC a run for their money. Have people forgotten that?
Yeah, it's man, it's yeah, you raised some interesting points. And so I don't know what to make of this, man. Notre Dame just needs to keep winning. It's really, really simple. I think if Notre Dame keeps winning, they navigate. They do. Yeah, I think you navigate yourself right into a home seed. And I'm really trying not to get ahead of myself, but I really do think if Notre Dame keeps winning, they could shuffle right into a hosting seed and all will be good in Notre Dame land. But only if you go 4-0. You have come too far from the nightmare week 2 with your winning streak, 6 in a row and everything to lose now. You cannot do it. Keep winning.
No, Johnny, you're 100% correct. You know that last victory against St. it was a good, well-rounded victory. Like I said, I'm not too fan about the quarterback or the rent-a-cop, as I like to tell them, but you know what I mean? They're progressing, man. They're finally meshing, and that's what's good. But here's, like I tell you, they got to continue to win the way they've been winning. You know, Johnny, and you guys are 100% correct. They got to continue to win the run game, the special teams, the pass game, the defense. The defense is really, hey, these young kids are stepping up. You know, I told you a long time ago, Jalen Smith, he's a sleepy monster. He needs a chance, and he needs to really, really come. But, you know, Johnny, as far as what you're saying, yeah, man, like they're continuing to win, and they got to continue to win in the same fashion that they've been winning, regardless of however. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's college football, and at the end of the day, like I told people, on any given day, man, anybody can come in and punch you in the mouth. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a game plan, homie, so they come punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Johnny, you know, and it's college football. I love it, man. The Irish will always forever be the greatest team on the history of the planet. College football is a better grassroots, the forward pass, the fact that we're playing everybody across the country, you know, like real talk. But they got to know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's man, this is going to be an interesting ride, man. You got a month left. It's going to be intriguing games. There's a lot of action in front of Notre Dame that's going to shake out. You just got to keep winning. It's the simplest equation of all time, man. You win 4 games and you reach your goal, and then you see how far you could run with it.
Amen, Johnny. Amen. I love you. Love the fan base. Like I say, even though we might disagree, onward Notre Dame, man. Let's get over Florida State, man, and on to the next. Okay?
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the donation, buddy. Have a good day, okay?
I love you, Johnny.
Take care. Yep, take care, buddy. I don't know what the deal was with his phone thing. It just wasn't that clear today. All right, if you're on hold, I'm gonna get to you a couple of these chats. Pat's asking about, dude, if it's just steak, like meat, what could go wrong with that? You know what? You guys might be surprised that I'll eat. You might be surprised that I'll eat this. You ever go, what is it? One of them Chinese places or something where they sit there and there's the grill and they do your steak and your chicken and there's rice there and they do it all in front of you. What do you call that? A hibachi or whatever? I'll eat the hell out of that. All it is meat and rice. What is there not to like? It's the most simple food. Good cooked like steak and chicken and rice. You can't go wrong and it fills you up. There, that's about as exotic as I get. It's about as exotic as I get, but I love it. What's there not to like? It's just rice and good seasoned meat. It's perfect. Like even Johnny will eat that because there's no weird food. It's just meat and rice, baby. Meat and rice. Mike says 10-2 independent leaves you out of the playoffs. Join the Big Ten. 10-2. I'm not eating the onion part. I don't eat onions, but whatever. 10-2 Notre Dame, I think, is out a lot of years. Some years you may be able to wiggle into the back end of a road seed where you're going to have to go on the road somewhere. But yeah, 10-2 Notre Dame, I think some years may be able to sneak in and some years you just may be out. It depends a lot on what happens in front of you. What are your wins? What are your losses? I do think so. I can eat Mexican food too. Again, rice, even the beans, and like a taco meat. Bro, what do you think I get in a burrito? Meat, cheese, and that's it. Like, I'm not getting all of this other crap. I'm not getting a salad put into my burrito or my taco. I want meat and cheese. That's all I need. And I'm definitely not putting salad in there either. No, you're going to ruin it. I want meat and cheese, okay? The main food groups. Yeah, so the 2 losses, I mean, whatever, man. If you're Notre Dame and you lose 2, you get what you get no matter who the 2 are to, right? So I don't know. Yeah, what does my Thanksgiving plate look like? Turkey, potatoes, and bread is mostly what it is. I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff people eat and pass around. That's what I'm eating, whatever, man. That's what I don't need a bunch of fancy stuff. I need the main food groups, bread, meat, and potatoes. That's all I need to be happy. I could seriously live in federal prison. It would be fantastic. Gravy, I'll put a little bit of gravy. I would put a little bit of gravy in there. I'll put a little bit in there. Why do we end up talking about me eating every time? Am I that picky? Lamb chops. Isn't that a cartoon from when we were kids? Lamb chops sing along or something? I seem to remember that in my mind. Is SMU getting snubbed? They have arguably the best loss. Andrew, I think one of my takeaways, I wrote about this late last night. One of my takeaways is I think it's clear that this committee really, really values the scheduling in the Big Ten and the SEC significantly more than they value the ACC and the Big 12. It looks to me like this is line. Tell me if you guys agree or disagree. Then I'm coming back to the phones. It feels to me like maybe the Big 12 and the ACC is being told they're only going to get one team in based on where the second team is in each of those conferences. It makes me think that they're sending the signal. They don't respect those schedules. And if you're not winning those conferences, you're not getting in. Bread, pudding, I'm not doing that. That sounds weird. Bread and pudding are opposites. I don't understand. Bread is a solid. Pudding is a mush. I don't understand. And I don't like soggy bread. Let's get it out of the way. I don't do soggy bread. I go to Portillo's. I get a beef and I want it dry. I can't understand. Yeah, give me that beef and dump the whole bread into the liquid and then it's all mushy and falling apart. That's no longer bread. That's mush. It's mush. It reminds me of like the context of barf, where you throw up whatever you ate and it's all wet. There's something wrong. I don't do soggy bread. That's also the reason I get a cheeseburger with meat, bread, and cheese and nothing else, because all those other condiments do is soggy up your buns. And I'm not here for no soggy buns. Okay? I don't do soggy buns. Life lesson. $5 olive from Paul. Hot take. Even if they win the Natty, they still lost to NIU at home. It'll all be good at that time. At that point, no condiments. Cheese is a cheeseburger, meat, bread, and cheese. That's all you need. Anything else is uncivilized. You're being gluttonous. You don't need anything else on a burger. Meat, cheese, bread. That's it. Anything else, it's outrageous. That's why the obesity rates in this country are through the charts, because everybody's got to have 80 things on everything. If everybody ate like me, everybody would be a stick. Okay? Even if they win the Natty, they lost to NIU. Oh, wouldn't it be the funniest thing in the world for Notre Dame to lose to NIU, come back and win the championship, and you have a home loss to NIU as an 80-point favorite on the list? Banana pudding? Are you outside your mind? No. I already covered that. I don't do this. I'm not falling for any of these tricks where people tell me fruit is dessert. All right? It just seems like a mean trick people are playing. I'm not falling for anything that is fruit that you're trying to tell me is dessert and trick me. I'm not doing it. If I want fruit, I'll eat fruit. If I want dessert, I'll eat dessert. They're not combined. They're not combined. Tomatoes are weird. I don't like the texture of tomatoes. There's something about them that's weird. I don't like the texture of a tomato. Makes me want to yak. I can't handle it. Same with the banana. The slimy but not totally wet nature of a banana. Oh, it makes me want to Ralph. I can't even think of eating a banana. Horrible. Oh, it's like kind of moist, but not really. And it's all banana-y, and it has the weird like skin. I hate banana. You outside your mind? No. $2 holler. No Tulane or BC flips. Do better. Xander Cruz. Here's the deal. Back to the calls. If you want to have a beef, listen, I got a problem with Penn State. I'm always going to have a problem with Penn State. Their best win is Illinois. They're only where they are at because they're in the Big Ten, and where they started the year ranked so high. They have proven everything I said about them to be correct. Choke on the big stage. Can't even score a touchdown in the biggest game of the year on offense at home. It's an absolute joke. But they are where they are because they're a Big Ten team, and that's the reality. Their best win is Illinois, and then they just choked on the big stage, and they're going to be an at-large bid. They play nobody the rest of the year. They're going to end up 11-1 and be ahead of Notre Dame and have a good seed. That's just the way it's going to be. They're getting credit for being a Big Ten team, but they're significantly overvalued considering their resume and whatever else. Indiana's also an interesting one. They have not played anybody I'm impressed with, but they're kicking the crap out of everybody. And the brand of football they play is great right now. Not impressed with the resume at all. Have no wins that I'm impressed with at all. But the way they're playing is kicking butt. And they're scoring a ton of points in the Big Ten for Indiana. It looks great. And I do think that's cool. They got Michigan and Ohio State coming up. So you're going to find out some things. They got Michigan this week and Ohio State in a couple weeks. And that's going to be really, really interesting. I got two scenarios for you. Then I'm going back to the phones. Scenario one. Let's just say Indiana beat Ohio State. Let's say Indiana beat Ohio State, and Ohio State now has 2 losses. Where does Ohio State fall on this list, on the ranking? This is where this whole experiment gets very, very interesting. You guys, you feeling what I'm saying? If Indiana were to beat Ohio State and they had 2 losses, are they out? Are they behind all of the no loss and 1 loss teams, no matter what conference? Or are we going to sit there and find a way to say, even though they've lost 2 games, they're one of the best teams or whatever? What happens then? Conversely, I want to know what happens if Indiana loses? What happens if Indiana loses to Ohio State and then they have one loss, but I'm not impressed with their resume? Did they drop behind Notre Dame? Did they stay ahead of Notre Dame? What happens there? What happens there? I'm just asking these questions. Don't you find it? Follow me here. I thought about this at like 2 a.m. last night. I was thinking about this, racking my stupid brain. Chips with garlic and onion. No. Garlic and onion. Johnny's not doing any of this crap with garlic and onion. I'm not doing any of that. It smells bad in here just even thinking of the concept of garlic and onions. I'm not doing that. No. Whatever you're talking about, garlic and onions, no. No. Johnny's not doing that. No. You're outside your mind. Plantains, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that is. Follow me here. What if Georgia loses again and Ohio State loses again? I'm just throwing it. What happens if Ohio State loses again and Georgia loses again? You have two of those teams that everybody thinks is a top 5 team, but they each have 2 losses. Where do they go? You don't season your steaks. Can't you just put a little butter on a steak and make it a little more melty and then whatever? I don't need anything else on a steak. It's just a hunk of meat, like a caveman. You could heat it on a rock in the woods in the sun and just eat it. That's all I need. I don't need nothing A1 or nothing. Just give me a hunk of meat cooked. That's good enough for me. Anyways, yeah, I mean, A1's fine, but I don't need it. Like, I don't know. And so those are some interesting things I think about. If you got some of these teams, everybody thinks they're so great and they end up with 2 losses, where do they fall behind everybody maybe from a lower conference, but with less losses? So I don't know. Man, this experiment's not near over. You know, it's going to get really interesting when these other teams catch a first or another second loss. It's going to be interesting. 832, I'm talking to you. If you're on hold, I'm going to get to you. So you'll have your turn. 832, what's going on? Good morning.
Morning. How's it going?
It's going very well. I do not think Notre Dame fans could complain about the 10 spot. I think it's pretty fair, given what we're bringing to the table. And I'm pretty content with it. And I think the road in front of Notre Dame's clear. 4-0, and you're in good shape. What say you?
I agree. And I thought we'd be in the top 10. As soon as I saw the 3-loss Louisville hit the top 25, I was like, it seems like they were trying to almost make a reason. Then I saw A&M at 14. And I was like, okay, I see how this is. I see how they're trying to like kind of build up that resume for us to get us in the top 10. That's what it kind of looked like. But I don't see us getting any further down than 8, really, judging by what's in front of us. So that would squeak us in maybe into that home game. But if we take the NIU loss, and let's say that was a win, I could see us in the 4 or 3 spot, 3 or 4 spot. Obviously, we wouldn't get the bye.
Yeah.
They would move us out to the first round. But I think we legitimately could have been in the 3 or 4 spot.
Don't you agree? Before any Notre Dame fan criticizes where Penn State is or Indiana or any of these teams, like, you're bringing probably the worst loss of anybody to the table, and you need to account for that. And you have outside of that, you have an independent schedule, which makes it hard to know exactly where you would stack up to some of these other teams. And the committee's full of conference affiliated people. You have a lot going against you when you're bringing Northern Illinois to the table. And I think 10's fair. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's a great way to start. I'm fine with that. And to be honest, the teams that are around us or whatever, the only teams that I would say that Notre Dame I think would have a hard time with in the playoff is obviously Oregon, and then believe it or not, it's one that's behind us that kind of worries me just due to our line on the D line. When it comes to run game, is Boise State. I do get concerned about that running back and being able to contain him going forward. So I don't think we'll be in that bracket. The fact that I'm with you. I think Penn State's overrated, but I would prefer that bracket over probably any other bracket that's out there. So we take the Penn State Miami bracket. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah,
I think we could beat both teams.
Here's the thing, man. A lot's going to change. That's the other thing I was thinking about late last night, because I looked at the bracket, took some time to kind of think it through, and then I pulled up the schedules for the remaining weeks. so many of these teams in front of us either are going to play tough games or they're going to play each other. And like, you're going to have Indiana and Ohio State. What's going to happen there? Somebody out of us is losing. And then what happens with that? I believe Tennessee and Georgia still play. What are you going to get there? So there's a lot in play here. There's a lot in play still.
Yeah. And you could find that, in that game, it's going to be margin of victory. I think is going to cause the issue. So we'll have to see how that goes because, obviously still have the SEC championship, right? So we'll see who lines up there. But something to watch really closely, and I didn't realize how similar it was until I was listening to another show, was SMU and ND have similar opponents. So you could see going forward that is a team that could, maybe jump us if we're not careful on our margin of victory because we've faced a lot. And even starting this weekend, SMU beat Florida State by 26 points. So we need to really put on the points against Florida State. And then we both play Virginia down the road. So I would see the committee really looking at us and looking at how we're going to compare to them. So that's something I would be very concerned about.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel like brand name have something to do with this? I see a lot of people writing saying SMU's getting a raw deal or whatever, and look at Notre Dame up there. Like, do you think that's coming into play yet, or that that the brand name, kind of what you're bringing to the table as your brand in this big tournament and what that means? Like, do you think that's being considered? Should it be considered? Or is it one of those things that's like subconsciously being considered that they're not talking about, but in their minds, they all know that it matters? Like, what do you think the realities are about brand names here in this tournament?
I believe brand names do have a factor, but they're not going to openly say it, right?
Right.
You got to understand they're not going to say that because as people have mentioned over the last week or so that Notre Dame brings eyes and butts and seats, right? They have a great following, and they're going to want all those people watching those games, and they're lightning rod. The Notre Dame name is a lightning rod for, either positive or negative. It's love or hate, so they're going to want people talking about it. So I believe the 13th or 14th team is going to say, well, Notre Dame lost to NIU and we lost to a ranked opponent. So why are they ahead of us? But,
it's going to be
what I'm waiting on, to be honest with you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say what I'm waiting on is, what I'm a little nervous about is Alabama, where they're ranked right now.
Okay. Now I have a note on that. This is really interesting. Pat was putting this in the chat. I believe before we even went live, Pat was talking about this. Should Notre Dame fans root for LSU to beat Alabama? And the theory would be that if LSU beat Alabama, then Alabama would end up with 3 losses and be knocked out for sure. But the theory would be Notre Dame would be boxing out LSU, because if Notre Dame goes 4-0, Notre Dame would have wins over both the teams that beat LSU. You would have wins over USC and Texas A&M. That is a really interesting angle because the 3 losses would block Alabama out, and then Notre Dame would automatically have to be ahead of LSU no matter what happened because Notre Dame would have beaten the 2 teams that beat LSU. It's just something to think about. That means you got to root for Kelly, though. So, but it's something to think about how that would all work out.
Oh, I know, and it hurts my heart to even root for LSU, but I feel like that's what we got to do because as long as Bama's still alive with 2 losses, they just need to put the stake in them. Let them be done because it'll be if they try to force a 3-loss Alabama team, people are going to be up in arms because I think at this point, looking at the rankings, they're looking for a 3 or 4 team SEC in the playoff. They're going to try to push it as much as they can, but
and then here's the other one too. If we're going to go down this path and we're going to be very, very uncomfortable doing so, is anybody going to root for Michigan to beat Indiana? Like, I am not. Listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The style of play and the way Indiana's winning, I'm very impressed with. Their schedule so far, I'm totally unimpressed with. So style of play and the way they look and play, I love, but I'm not impressed with any of their wins. Is anybody going to root for Michigan here? Because it doesn't matter how many games Michigan wins, their season's ruined. to knock off Indiana, and then maybe they lose to Ohio State in a couple weeks, and then Indiana's something Notre Dame doesn't have to worry about. You jump them. I'm just throwing that out there as a path here.
Yeah, and it would also have to depend on, let's say, if Michigan did win, how much they would win by or whatnot, because obviously you need the style points, but it's going to be more, I think you got to circle the Ohio State game and how close that's going to be for Indiana.
But see, here's here's the problem. Here's the problem Indiana has. The problem Indiana has is where they're ranked starting. They're not ranked 4th or something where you could lose a game and then be in the field. There's not many places to drop when you're 9th. Indiana's 9th. You catch a loss, where are they going to drop to? I think they're going to be out. I'm just telling you. So that's the problem, is where they're slotted. You don't have much room to drop with the loss and still be in the field.
Oh, I agree. I'm saying, but if let's say they drop by let's say Michigan beats them by 2 or 3 points, right? Then the following week they play Ohio State and they beat Ohio State by, let's say, 10 or 12 points.
Oh,
where do you move Ohio State, and then where do you move Indiana?
That's a good question.
To that point.
Though, listen, man, the one that I want to know is, it would be so interesting. What if Ohio State ended up with 2 losses and Georgia ended up with 2 losses? What will they do with that? Because we know the committee loves both of those teams, loves the profile, loves the talent, respects the hell out of them. If they each ended up with 2 losses, how do you begin to even sort that out when they all want them to be high up, but they have 2 losses, and who do you put ahead of them? This is really, really interesting project.
Yeah, there's so many different avenues, and this is just the first of 6, that they're going to do from here to the end. So, there's going to be a lot more shakeups, a lot more teams playing one another, and I still think that we're going to probably see an upset or 2 in the top 10 between now and the last one.
Now, let me ask you this too. And I don't have a good answer to this. And they addressed this in the committee yesterday, but I'm unclear on how this is going to go. Tell me if you guys have thought of this. I thought about this late last night too. How is this committee going to handle teams that make it to the conference championship and maybe they play bad and they lose, and it isn't particularly like a good close effort by them, but they're ranked high, and then they make it to the conference championship and they don't win it, and maybe it's ugly and they don't play that well? Do they get penalized for making it to the championship game and having an ugly loss to people it's recent and then it's in your face and it's not in? How do you penalize those teams? Or do you not? Are those freebies where you're like, good job, you got in the championship, but we're not going to penalize you in the way Notre Dame could never be penalized because you're at home eating Charlie's Burgers with no 13th game? How are they going to handle that? Title game making conference losers. How are they going to handle that?
And then there was another scenario that somebody brought up, like let's take a Miami, for instance, goes to the ACC title game undefeated.
Yeah.
And let's say they have a bad game and they lose in that. So that means that they lost the conference championship. So then you have 2 ACC possible opponents in there at that point. Like with this whole new rule of winning your conference.
Oh, that's interesting.
It kind of puts things in limbo.
Yep, it's going to be. These are really interesting experiments. All I know for Notre Dame is you just got to keep winning. You just got to keep winning. Can I switch the tone a little bit and ask you about Florida State? They're really bad. But that helmet means, here's where I'm at on this. They are really, really bad. But when that helmet comes to South Bend, it matters. And it is different than a regular game. It is still that Florida State helmet coming to South Bend to play our boys. It's still going to generate that animosity and that history and that heated, all the heated stuff that went on with Bowden and Lou and all 93 and all of this stuff, man. What are you expecting? Do you think it's going to be wild and loud in Notre Dame Stadium, or do you think it's going to be a little muted because the team coming in is bad? What do you expect to see here? Any fear of them jumping up and the one highlight of their year is to screw with Notre Dame and that's it? Or are they just done and quit? What do you make of this?
Well, I think what helps Notre Dame is the fact that it's the only night game of the year. I think that's going to bring a lot of energy. And then obviously the recruits being there is going to, they're going to try to put their best foot forward. So I think there's going to be a lot of energy there. A lot of these, we've had some recent history, obviously, with Florida State, but a lot of it is before one of these kids were born. John, you and I are 40 years old,
Yep.
It's been going on for a while. And my grandpa used to refer to Florida State's free shoes you, but they had NIL before NIL,
Yeah. Yep. Dude, I'm telling you, listen, I love this. One of my earliest childhood memories is Grandpa Kennedy sitting in his rocking chair with the black coffee and yelling at the TV a whole bunch of things I can't repeat at Bobby Bowden. That was the number one guy he hated.
Yep.
And my earliest memories would be going over there and him screaming at that TV about Bobby Bowden and all the cheating and how dirty he is and things I can't even repeat. And I remember Grandma Kennedy saying, John, the grandkids are here. Could you not use that language? But that is my earliest memory. And people younger than us, I don't think they have that connection to this game other than watching watching the YouTube video in 93. I don't feel like they have that connection to hatred that we're on the edge having it at 40, that healthy hatred for what that all was in the 90s. If you're younger than us, you maybe don't have it, but it's real and it's still there for a lot of families.
Yeah, I would say the obviously the youngest memory the most recent memory, I think, for some of our fans would like the Florida State game
14.
where we got called for a pick.
What a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. I'll never get over that one either. And that is one of those that's going to stick with you. Notre Dame was, that hurts. Still hurts. I remember it. Oh, woof.
It was just a rub, and it was not a full pick. But I'll put that aside. But anyway, I think just as long as we don't start off slow, because obviously we're coming off a bye week. I think that the energy should be strong, and I don't think, at least watching the Monday thing, I don't think Coach Freeman has really. He's not taking this lightly. He's not doing what he did before, NIU, where he was, almost. He couldn't even remember who they were playing the following week after, playing A&M. So he's taking this very seriously, going through this. So I imagine they'd be prepared. Margin of victory, we'll have to see. I think we just need to blow out their hopes early on.
It's like a 26-point favorite.
Like we did with Purdue.
I think we're like a 25 and a half or 26-point favorite. And here's what it can't be, man. Here's what it cannot be. Night game. We're doing a light show. The DJ's there. That girl's yelling at us in the stadium to wake up. All this stuff they're going to pull out. You cannot be all sleepy coming out of the bye and it's kind of cold and damp out and there's not a lot of energy. And then it's 6-3 halfway through the second quarter. I'm not here for it, man. You want to drop in these rankings? Mess around with Florida State this year. It cannot be one of these slow things where it's 3-6 halfway through the second quarter. I'm not here for that. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, we just got to hope for, because I think I haven't looked today as of this morning, but, it's going to be kind of rainy or whatever that night. At least that's when I think I last looked yesterday morning or something like that, where it could get a little soggy or whatever. So the ball could be running loose at that, it could come to our advantage too, with them coming up there and, with our Aussie punter and all that stuff, we could have another Navy turnover game or something like that. But, I just hope that we're, fully charged in the first quarter and not, our typical one touchdown in the first quarter and then 10 points in the second quarter. And then all of a sudden we light it up in the second half.
I'm telling you, man,
I would rather.
They're so bad offensively. It's almost unbelievable. Have not scored more than 21 points in any game this year. They are up 133 out of 134 teams in the country in points scored per game. They only score 14 a game, second to last in the whole country. They are horrible. We only give up 12 a game, even with the injuries. We're going to smother that offense out, and then we need to figure out ways to score early and often.
Yep. I want it to be very much like the Purdue. So I'm hoping that we'll come out and start, scoring heavy in the beginning, kind of beat the wool out of them, and then have them wanting to pack their stuff up at halftime.
Yep. That's what I want them to quit. There's chum in the water. They're bleeding out. They're playing for nothing. The last thing they're going to want to do is get on a plane and go to cold, wet, damp South Bend, Indiana. They're down, waiting to be out. Give them a reason to quit. And that's what I need. Hope is what you got to prevent here. There can be no hope. There could be no hey, we're in this thing. This could be the highlight of the year. I want no hope for them at all. None, zero, zilch. That's what I need. Anything else, my friend? Good call today. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I got nothing else. I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit of chaos going forward, because I did enjoy it. It seems like both bye weeks really helped us out in terms of our rankings and stuff like that. I was a little disappointed in the AP ranking. Obviously, what doesn't mean anything now.
You know what I want to say?
And
Here's what I want to say about this. I'm glad you brought it up. As opposed to last year, where the off weeks were horribly placed, where they didn't do you much good. Like after 8 weeks and half the games being in prime time is not a good time to have the break. Like after 2 months in a row of playing tough game, like horrible. For all of that, as bad as the timing was, it's been really good this year. The timing of that first bye was very well placed and in a good part of the schedule. And this one lines up beautifully to get done with Navy, recover from Navy, get your head on right, prepare for the November rush, and you got 4 winnable games ahead of you. This is perfect. I love the way it's setting up for Notre Dame.
I agree. And hopefully it'll lead us right into that, good first round.
Hey, 1 week at a time, 1 week at a time. And I'm telling everybody this now, I don't care what happens between now and then. It isn't going to be an easy game in LA. It's just not. It's just not. And so I don't know how many losses they're going to have by then. It isn't going to be an easy game in LA. But for that one to matter, you got to win 3 other ones first. Hey, man, thanks for the call on a Wednesday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good week, and go Irish.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. That's the deal. I can promise you. Callahan Auto Parts, $10 holler. ND drops 65. I hope everybody knows where that's from. And if you don't, look it up. That's just funny to me. I hope everybody knows what that's from, man. Our childhood, if you're my age. Callahan Auto Parts. ND drops 65 this weekend. Can we also mention how Vandy's messing up the SEC? What happens if they beat Tennessee or LSU? We all know it could happen, especially with that wet mop known as Kelly. Pavia Mafia, baby. Create the T-shirts. I don't know. Nobody in that niche created the T-shirt I came up with. Pavia Mafia. Oh, it's so beautiful. I came up with it right when they beat Alabama. I'm surprised nobody's done that. D-Rock Irish says, Florida State hasn't scored more than 21 points in a game this season. I wonder where you heard that stat from. Was it 1 minute ago when I said Florida State hasn't scored more than 21 points all year? USC bench Miller Moss. They certainly did. And I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. The kid that's replacing it, is it Mavia? Mavia? It's one of those Polynesian names. Very mobile kid. I believe he's a transfer. And I don't remember. Mavia, I think is his name. Or whatever. He's more mobile. So they're hoping to be able to have a little more diversity there with the run game and RPOs, or him keeping the ball. They're out hoping to liven things up. I'm telling you, the number one thing USC should do, and they would probably have won half of these games they lost and gave up leads in the fourth quarter in, commit to running the football. I don't understand why they won't do it. Lincoln Riley won't do it. In some of these games, if they would have just committed to a power run game, I just think it would help some of their problems. But if they want to be stupid and not do it, go for it. But that's what I think. 615, 618's coming up after that. What's going on, 615? Hello.
What's going on? I got to be very brief because I just pulled up to my doctor's appointment. I was hoping I'd get on just
I'm sorry.
a little bit before.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're
go
good.
Go
you're,
for
you're
it, man.
More than fine.
Hey, let it rip.
Earlier, but,
let it rip, baby.
I wanted to say, for all the people worried, the committee's always been about who you beat, not who you lose to. And I really think they're proving that with Notre Dame this year, is that they had good wins. And they're not – I mean, we always, as fans, our heart's in it more. So we're like, hey, Notre Dame should not lose to NIU. They never should. I'm not saying that that's ever excusable. But the committee's not going to hold that against them like we would. Also, and if I know that's true, some people kind of push back on that. And what was it, 2020, when Cincinnati was undefeated and all they played was G5 teams? And they went undefeated, and Notre Dame still got in over them after they lost in the conference championship game, is weird to say, against Clemson. So it's all about who you beat, not who you lose to.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting, though. I can't ignore the Northern thing, so I can't get over it. But if they're not going to hold it against us and keep us out because of it, then that's fine with me.
Yeah, the Northern Illinois. Well, I will say I saw somebody from On Three talking about it, and I kind of agree with him. And he kind of said the same thing. He's like, "Look, nobody's saying that you should lose to Northern Illinois, but it might kind of be a blessing in disguise because Notre Dame has played with their hair on fire the whole time, and Marcus Freeman teams have always played at their best when they can't afford to lose. When they just know they have to win.
Yeah, you are historically accurate on that. They have done really good under immense pressure with Marcus Freeman. Backed in a corner, they seem to rise pretty well. Maybe the only time I could say I expected that they really didn't deliver was Clemson last year, where I thought they needed that, and they didn't get it. But a lot of the other times they've done that. And so listen, if Notre Dame's able to run out all wins from week 2, that's a great comeback. And I realize people are going to say the schedule. I realize people are going to say the schedule hasn't been great or whatever, but I'm just telling you, it's hard to win 10 in a row against anybody coming off that negativity, especially with the injuries. Good job. Really good job.
Yeah, well, and the only team, assuming that they stay undefeated, that will have done that is Oregon. So, I mean, to think Notre Dame's loss came from week 2, I don't know of any other teams in the top 15 or in the top 12 where those rankings are that have just won 10 in a row like that.
Yeah.
Just bam, 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 bam. So that's another good sign of sustained success. Also, shout out my boy Riley Leonard. He has been playing lights out, and I know some people are like, he's not throwing for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was never going to do that. And if you think he was going to do that, why do you even watch football? Because you don't understand the game. But he's been playing really good, and he like sneakily good. He's not getting the attention he should because I mean he's been efficient and using his legs. And the Notre Dame offense has been. I think I saw a stat at the end of the month that Notre Dame outscored all their opponents by, or they averaged 2 points a game, which was the highest in the nation.
Yes, I saw that stat, and I highlighted that too. I double read it to make sure I understood it the right way. Through October, Notre Dame has the biggest win margin of any team in the country, and I know people are going to complain about who they're playing, but all you could do is pile it on the people you're playing. And you are right. Riley Leonard is coming into his own. He looks more confident and comfortable running this offense. That being said, the passing game is never going to look the way any of us wanted to look this year, but they're doing a better job, and that offensive line's getting better working together. That offense is getting better as the year goes along.
Of course, yeah. And for the Florida State game, they better come out and play good because this is my first game going to South Bend. I'm 0-1 for Notre Dame games. I live in Gallatin, Tennessee, so I was able to go to the Louisville game. That did not work out last year. Be at a 500 record this year.
Man, yeah, this better. You got to balance out the ledger. It'll be a lot more friendly territory here, and you're going to get the full effect. They're going to do the light show, and the girl's going to yell at you to cheer, and the DJ's going to be on the 1s and 2s with the techno songs, the techno polka they like to play. Yeah, it's going to be electric.
What do you think about the DJ, by the way? I've seen a lot of fans kind of push back on it. Like,
all right,
the band played more.
Here's my answer. Okay, first, I am a traditionalist. I would like to give the band more opportunity to do stuff, but I'm an old school guy. Here's the problem with the DJ. If you're going to do the DJ and they play songs I like, then I'm more okay with the DJ than when they play annoying songs I hate. And that is as fair as I could be. When you're playing polka techno, I want to punch myself in the face, but if you were going to play something good, then I'm into it.
Yeah, I understand that. I've been able to go to a few Tennessee games at Neyland Stadium, and they're very DJ oriented, which surprised me.
And they sell beer there. Don't they sell beer there at Tennessee games too? That makes a big difference, baby. Makes a big difference, don't it?
It just makes their fan base worse.
Yeah.
And I may be biased.
I can imagine.
I grew up in Tennessee, but
yeah, I can imagine.
They are insufferable. I mean, I've Louisville was a bad fan base too, being in a hostile environment. I've never been a hostile fan before. Louisville was like, they were just mean from the rip, like even before the game was playing. And it was like, all right, well, I understand. I'm a hostile fan. But, I would go I'm not a Tennessee fan, but my friends are. So I would go under the guise as like a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, just to blend it, just to kind of blend it, just to not stand out and get jumped.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of animosity between those teams, but man, I mean, it gets pretty like I'm never like violent because I feel like a lot of these frat guys won't do anything, but it's like, man, will you shut up? And I've only seen good things about Notre Dame fans, and I'm very excited to go and finally be among I consider it a pilgrimage at this point.
Hey, congratulations, man. It'll be a fun environment, and they really will. It is kind of fun in them night games. They do some extra features. It's just I'm going to be a cranky old man sometimes about it, but I want you to have safe travels. Be loud and be proud and have a good time at the game, man. I really appreciate the call, and seriously, have a safe trip.
Yep, thank you. Go Irish, and I will say I feel like it will be like Purdue. That's my prediction. I think Notre Dame's going to be up like 42 by midway through the second quarter.
I love it.
The Florida State team is not good, and Marcus Freeman, again, historical stat, coming out of the bye week, is peak Marcus Freeman, and I may call him later this season to really confirm it, but I really don't think. I think Notre Dame's one of the most dangerous teams to play right now with that defense. And if I was Penn State, Miami, if it shapes out anything like that, I know it won't, but I would be absolutely terrified that that's who I'm going up against, because Notre Dame is. I mean, you're not scoring on them, and it's a race to like 24 at this point, and they're looking like Notre Dame can, move the ball and get downfield. So it was always like, yeah, Notre Dame can't score. They have a scary defense. Now it's kind of like Notre Dame has a really scary defense, and now they look competent. How are we going to stop Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and Riley Leonard, who can dip it on the RPO or keep it out and take it 60 yards on you? So, I mean, I'm more confident. It's weird to say this. I'm more confident in this team right now than I was coming out of the A&M game.
Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Notre Dame is trending up, and you want to be trending up in November, not treading water in November. Those are two very different vibes of a football team. Notre Dame's trending up, come out of come out of the break with a lot of energy. Hey, man, take care. Safe travels.
Go Irish.
Have a good one. What a nice guy. 618, you're coming up. If you're on a hold, you're gonna be on the air. We need an Always Irish after dark show Friday night. That may actually work because of what I may have planned for Friday morning for you guys. We're gonna wait and see. But that may actually work out to where we might be able to do that Friday night, because I might have something special and totally unique that we've never done before for you guys Friday morning. And then maybe we do that Friday night. I don't know. 618, let's make it great. What's going on? What's up?
What's up? What's up, John, man?
I want to know what you think. Notre Dame lands in the 10. Do you think that's fair?
They right where I thought they would be on the first ranking. I said anywhere between 7 and 10. They're at number 10. Everything else is gonna play itself out, man. Penn State is not that good. I mean, big game James always lose in the big game, man. I think Freeman could get him, man. But we'll just see how everything plays out. I mean, Georgia could possibly have a second loss, depending on how they play in Ole Miss. And
hey, I got to ask you, man, what does the committee do if their two darlings, Ohio State and Georgia, pick up a second loss? That is one of the most intriguing questions I have about this entire project is, where do those teams fall if everybody thinks they're great, but they end up with 2 losses each? What do you do with them, then? Are they out? Where do they drop to? Well, how do you handle those two darlings if they have 2 losses?
Well, we got to think like this, man. It's a possibility Alabama have 3 losses after this weekend.
Well, they're done then. That's just it. You're just done. You're out of the picture then. And then if Notre Dame goes 4-0 the rest of the way, you would have wins over both teams that beat LSU, so you would automatically be blocking them out from jumping above you, because you would have beat USC and you would have beat Texas A&M, both who beat Kelly.
Yeah, the sleeper team is, I know they played bad this weekend, and I think Elko made just an emotional, to me, that was like more emotions, man, than actually brains, to start read. I mean, you never know, man. They can probably run the table and possibly even beat Georgia in the SEC title game, man. They just got to keep winning, and we got look, man, Notre Dame, all they got to do is just keep on winning, man, and everything else will shake itself out, man.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Notre Dame just needs to keep winning. And it's I don't know. There's a lot of dominoes to fall, man. You look ahead at those schedules: Tennessee, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio State. There is going to be upheaval in the rankings above Notre Dame. And you got, man, I'm telling you, if Notre Dame could go from losing to Northern Illinois week 2 to a home playoff game, it would be an unbelievable comeback.
You know what, John,
it would be an unbelievable comeback,
John,
man. That's a long journey.
I understand, John, but man, listen to me. It's too many Notre Dame fans that's siding with the doggone the national media. It's too many of our fans that siding with the national media. Oh well, they lost to Northern Illinois was almost over 2 months ago, man. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah,
we win a national championship. You know the first thing that Notre Dame fans is going to say that we lost to Northern Illinois.
You're going to have, like, you know, when you win a championship and they make all the merchandise and it lists out the whole schedule and the scores from that year. Nobody's going to want to buy a T-shirt that has the Northern Illinois one on it, even though you won a championship. It's just Northern. You couldn't lose to Northern at home, man. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it.
The most fickle fans in the world, man. We could go ahead and win a national championship, and the first thing our fans would say, well, we lost to Northern Illinois the second week of the season. With nobody care about that because we're national champions.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's that Northern dude, I can't get that Northern shadow. It's following me around. Everywhere I go, I turn around and there it is. Like, I just can't shake it. It's there. But if you make it into the playoff and you feel good about your spot, then it's a clean slate. Once you get into the playoff, I'm not going to worry about Northern Illinois because it's a whole new world. You're in a whole new reality then. Everything resets. Once you're in that field, everything resets.
The reason why we had a home game against Northern Illinois alone.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, but wait. But you know, a home playoff game in Notre Dame is history. That is literally historic stuff. That's going to be a big deal.
I feel like, man, that look, we get in the playoffs. Man, anything can happen once you're in the playoffs. You in. Let's see what happens, man. I feel like Notre Dame right now is the most complete football team in the country.
What?
They're the most complete.
What did he say? Come on. What you gotta talk that out to me. Break that down. I'm not sure I can get down with you on this one, man.
Everybody talked about Riley Leonard the first three games. The last 3 to 4 games, he showed you he could pass the football. Everybody say he couldn't pass the ball. He could pass the ball. He could run the ball. We got a 2-headed monster, a 3-headed monster in the backfield. The receivers, if you're throwing the ball, they're gonna catch it. Greyhouse, man, he runs terrific routes. Man, the defense, they're probably the best defense in the country, man. And we ain't even playing fully loaded.
Yeah, you're right. We're not playing fully. Hey, they did that defense. I expected them to take a step back once they got all the injuries, and they really, truly haven't. They're the fourth best. They're the fourth best scoring defense in America. They give up 12.1 points a game. It's super, super impressive. And I keep waiting for them to drop off with the injuries, and they're not. It's a real compliment to their depth. And I realize the competition we played has not been the toughest. I realize that, but Notre Dame's doing a really good job.
Man, look, we went into Texas A&M and gave up 13 points. Texas A&M got 2 losses this year, and one of those losses is at home against Notre Dame. So, and be honest with you, man, Texas don't look that good. I expect Texas A&M to beat them at home.
Ooh, it does make a difference that it's at their place. I do like that for them. That's an advantage. And you know what else? A&M's not
I
out of
agree.
it either, man. A&M, they took a crap the other night and whatever, but they're still in the mix for the SEC championship, or at least an appearance in that game, depending on what happens. So their run is not over in the SEC, and that could help buoy Notre Dame up as well.
And they're tied for first place in the SEC. So that is not over. You mess around and if they mess around and beat Georgia in the SEC title game, nobody could take anything away from Notre Dame, because Notre Dame could always say we beat the SEC champion at their place.
Yeah. That would be a big feather in the cap. Let's transition a little bit. What do you make of Florida State? Is there any danger of Notre Dame sleepwalking here? Are these guys rising up and having the highlight of their crappy year? Or do you just think they are so bad Notre Dame's going to smother their hope out quick? What do you think?
They still have NFL guys on their team, John.
Mm-hmm.
They still have great talent on their team. They just got horrible coaching at the moment.
Yeah, dude, you know that it's Florida State. Their talent can't be this bad for the record. Is it poor coaching and development? What is not coming together? Because I know Florida State has more talent than what their record is in that conference. So something's going wrong with messaging or coaching or whatever. What do you think is the problem?
It's definitely the coaching.
Bad.
It's definitely the coaching.
Bad.
It can't be that bad, John.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The issue is you can't go into every year and have about 12 high school guys that you're developing, and then you bring in a shitload of
transfers.
Transfers. That doesn't work. Them guys don't got no continuity together. We seen it at the beginning of the season with Riley Leonard and the receivers. They was off.
Yeah.
Now they're coming together.
Okay, now wait a second though. Isn't Indiana built that way, with this guy coming over and having all the transfers from his old place coming in there, and they all kind of put it together and they're playing good football? Something's just not connected, man. Something's just not connected. Oh.
Florida State played a decent schedule. Man, Indiana ain't playing nobody.
Yeah, well,
they playing the high school. They playing.
They got Michigan and Ohio State coming up. So they're going to be tested against some better talent.
I think they dropped both of them games. They dropped both of them games.
Woo, baby. Wow. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know, man. And so I want Notre Dame to drown out Florida State early, eliminate all hope. I want a little moisture in the air. I want those guys cold and wet in South Bend, not wanting to be there, ruin their will to exist, grind them out. Smother them on defense, and then score however many you want. Like I need you to lay it on thick and let everybody know November's for Notre Dame. It's a Notre Dame November to remember, baby.
I tell you what, I got two predictions for that game. Man, if Notre Dame come in and sleepwalk, I see Notre Dame winning 21, maybe 10. Because Florida State couldn't move the ball if they wasn't sleepwalking.
Listen, man, sometimes Florida State's defense is not awful. I will say that if there's one part of their team, sometimes they play decent defense, but they're usually out there so many snaps of the game because the offense is so bad, they get worn down. At times, Florida State's defense can rise up and play kind of decent. I'll put that in their favor. Trying to be fair.
And that's what I'm saying. If they sleepwalk, I think they wear them down like in the third or fourth quarter because they get out there so many snaps. And Notre Dame wound up winning 21-10. But if Notre Dame come focused, it's going to be more like the Purdue game. Like the Purdue game. I'm saying 63-7.
Wow. That's a lot of scoring. I'm here for it. Man.
Yeah,
Dude,
I think
what a beautiful
first, second, third, fourth.
What a beautiful way to start.
We go.
Come and think about.
They get you out the stands, John.
Build this out.
And you score.
I'd be doing the Heisman on them. I'd be doing spin moves, jumping over people. Think about the buildup, though, man. You're coming out of the bye. You got good news from this committee. You should be feeling a little refreshed and kind of have some pep in your step. You got good news from the committee. A team coming to your place for a night game that you should beat. Like everything, there's a lot of momentum in Notre Dame's favor entering November. I genuinely mean that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it.
I really think
You got it. I'm telling you,
I
dude.
really think I think Notre Dame run the table.
I'm going to lose my
get up
mind. If Notre Dame loses a game in these 4,
table,
I'm going to lose my mind, dude. Notre Dame has come so far. You cannot lose any of these games. You can't drop that dumb game in LA the last week because everybody's asleep after eating too many turkey legs. You can't do it. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. What about the quarterback change? Does the quarterback change interest you at all? They're trying to find more mobility. Maybe this guy gives them a spark. You got to consider it.
No.
He said no. He said no.
They quit,
he said,
man.
my man
done,
said
man.
no. Are you sure? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Man, USC pretty much been about quit this season.
Man, it's
and it's gonna show us their last 4 games. I mean, I don't think they win another game this season except for the UCLA game.
Oh man, it's going to be. Now what's interesting is every game they've lost, they have been winning in the 4th quarter. Every game they lost, I believe, has been from a 1-score game. So it's not like they're getting blown out. They still have not won a road game in the Big Ten. They still have not. Dude, they have not won a road game in the Big Ten. This ain't the Pac-12. Welcome to Big Ten football, baby. This is not the Pac-12 where you only got to get up for 2 games a year. This is the Big Ten, and it's just not as easy. So welcome to the conference.
But at least they haven't played Ohio State, man. I don't think they played Oregon this year either. So I don't know, man. I think they don't. You know, I think what they do, they show that they got a little fight to the 4th quarter. They show a little talent that they got, and then they pretty much quit in the 4th quarter.
I mean, they just can't. They can't put it together and make winning plays down the stretch. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for touching base on a Wednesday. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, man. If Notre Dame, I feel like if Notre Dame run the table, they get a seed between 6 and 8.
There you go. Hey, that's a hosting seed, and you're in a good spot then. And then we just see what the matchup is. 1 game at a time, 1 week at a time. You got to beat Florida State first. Hey, man, thanks. Have a good Wednesday.
Yeah, let's blow out Florida State, man.
Oh, let's get it.
Let's get Norvell fired.
Oh, I love it. Have a good one, man. Thanks for giving me a call.
All right, man.
Take care. 218 calls from that gentleman in the last 2.5 years I've been doing the call-in show. He's the number 1 guy. He calls all the time, and I love him for the loyalty. Bruce is coming up, and then 716 after that. What's going on, Bruce? If the phone will load. There we go. What's up,
John,
Bruce?
what's going on, my man?
Oh, what's going on?
Hey, sorry for dialing the wrong number earlier.
It cracks me up, dude, because I see it on my phone, but the phone is plugged in. I have to use the phone as the host line for the call-in show. So it's all going at the same time. And every time I see it, I know you just dialed the wrong number, and then you pop up on the right screen. It's all good.
Yeah, man. So I was listening to the previous calls, obviously, and listening to some of the show. I got in a little late, but was it the last guy who said Notre Dame is the most complete football team in the United States? Did he say that?
He did, and I pushed back on it. Listen,
I love the Irish. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I love the Irish too, but I cracked a smile at that one. I like the positivity, but I find that to be a little bit of a stretch. But I like I like the positivity. We're looking on the upside, Bruce.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'm just, and he makes a great point. We can run the football, but I'm trying to think, have we really been tested against an outstanding run defense since week 1? Not really, right?
It's fair point.
Our offensive line, say again?
I said fair point.
Yeah, so it's hard to really say that. That's, at the end of the day, you know, like I've been calling in since the NIU loss, and I've been saying the same thing. 1 week at a time, go 1-0. And I still believe we will do that. But now, again, I'm starting to look at bigger picture things, and I'm thinking, okay, if we have X matchup or Y matchup, how are we going to be able to execute the things which we've been successful at executing all season? And, you know, to the point you make and have made for years now, it's great to be able to run it against Bruce Hope State U, right? But when it comes to getting with the big boys, that's when the real test comes. Now, we saw a little something in week 1, and hopefully that can transfer going forward, but I am somewhat concerned with that. Our defense that looks so fast and elite, how is it going to look when we have to play against an offense that has fast and elite playmakers on the opposite side? It might not be the same. And much like Penn State, any good team we play against, our offense is going to have to give our defense enough to support it.
Yep.
As great as that defense is, it can't go out there three and out after 3 and out after 3 and out and expect to hold up. Midway through the third quarter, they will break, and that's tough.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right about
every defense does.
You're totally right about all of these items. You know, and that Notre Dame defense that we like so much. Yeah, I worry a little bit about, can you hold up front against a power SEC team or something? I worry a little bit of, there's no way eventually the loss of Morrison doesn't like bite you somewhere down the road because he's such a big piece. But I'm kind of looking at it, Bruce, is like one problem at a time. Like you said, win each of these the 4-game season you have now, win each of those. And if you get in the tournament, then you just look at the matchups and you hope for a good draw, and then you play what you could play, and it's a clean slate. It's just you can't lose any of these games, Bruce. They're doing a good job of coming back after week 2. You can't drop a game now. The light is at the end of the tunnel. You need, and you know what else you can't do is plateau. You cannot plateau. I need them to keep getting better through November, not just kind of on fumes get by. I want them to keep getting better, especially offensively, feel better about it. I need it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And, you know, we just gotta continue to do that. That was my thought from week 2 on. A couple of things. I think it's important. Not that it's going to matter too much, but it's important, especially for all of us in the independent space covering this stuff, to pay attention to what Ward Manuel is saying every week after the selections get made, right? I want to hear how much variance there is from week to week when he explains how certain things were chosen, right? Because you're looking at it, and for instance, he said last night, Penn State, Ohio State only has 1 loss. That's why, and it was by what, a point or 2 points to Oregon. Okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But then he says the Penn State-Ohio State game was back and forth, and that's why Penn State didn't drop too much. I'm like, back and forth? Excuse me? It was 10-0 Penn State. They lost 20-13. That's a 17-3 run Ohio State went on after that 10-0 lead. That's not back and forth.
No, listen.
That's not a back and forth
No
game.
offensive touchdowns at home in your biggest game of the year is like, it's crying out Brian Kelly Notre Dame to me or something. Like, that's not okay. Yeah. That's not okay. It was at home. It wasn't even at the shoe, man. You can't score an offensive touchdown. Get real, man. Get real. Bruce, they do not play anybody that good in the back end of their schedule. I expect them to go 11-1 and get an at-large bid and be ahead of Notre Dame because they're in the Big Ten. That's what I expect from them.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And I get that Notre Dame accepted that with independence there will be some, there'll be some screwing around that goes on, but like
this is one of those.
The committee doesn't even attempt.
Yeah.
Say again?
I said this is one of those where I feel like they're getting a big benefit for just being in the Big Ten. And then the other one I want to ask you about, what do you make of Indiana? They haven't played anybody, but they've looked great every week, but they haven't played anybody. They got Michigan and Ohio State coming up. What do you think of them so far? And what do you expect them to do the rest of the way? They're another team really I'm interested in ahead of us.
So I was just going there actually. So thank you. That was next in my note sheet. But Indiana, I looked it up while I was waiting to talk to you. Indiana is 103rd in strength of schedule, right? As well, the Big Ten opponents so far that Indiana has beaten has a combined record of 25-27. So to your point, they have not played anyone. That's correct. Now, do they look good beating up on the teams that they should beat up? Yes, but that's what you're supposed to do. We will find out when they go to the shoe in, 2 weeks here? Next week or the following week? I can't remember. But they have to go to the shoe. If they get that win, I got nothing else to say. But, they may end up like Penn State, looking really good against the teams they should, and then not getting it done against the big boys.
Yeah,
so
I do,
think
Bruce.
It's a little early to judge Indiana, and I think it's a little high to rank them.
I do like it. It is interesting having a totally new team in the mix and having a new team threatened in the Big Ten, and it's just kind of interesting. I still think this, Bruce. You know me, I hold grudges and football grudges, and I like my tradition and all that. I'm telling you this. If I'm a Michigan or an Ohio State guy or something, I don't really like seeing Oregon come in here and be really, really good and maybe the best team in the conference with their Nike money coming from out west, jumping in the Big Ten and then being better than us. It would rub me the wrong way if I was a fan of one of those teams. Just be out of pride. It would bother me that a non-Big Ten team jumps in the conference and is better than everybody. That would bother me. That's just me, though. But I hold things, you know how I am. I take things personal, but that would be in my mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. Another note, Miami, number 4 in the country, undefeated, looking good, and will probably win their conference. But like, if you look at a lot of these games, it's not like Miami is dominating, and they don't really have a much better schedule than Indiana does. Now, don't get me wrong, they are winning the games there, but there's a lot of these games they're either losing or it's very tight going like midway through the fourth, and then they make a quick little run to separate. And so I'm not convinced as to how great a team that is. And they escaped with a bad call, in my estimation, in that win against Virginia Tech. So it's like, come on, man. Clearly, and we see this every year, and we know the committee has an agenda. That's kind of why I get frustrated. And that's why I was saying we need to look and pay attention to what they're saying each week, because at the end, we'll be able to point out the blatant lack of consistency, which, again, is why there's no standardized criterion, why they don't put that out on purpose, because they don't want to be held to account for the decisions they make. So there's that. And finally, Army, right? I looked at Army, and I will admit fully, I am biased here. I'm an Army veteran, so, I have love for them. But ranking them number 25 in the country, that's a good football team. They are balling. But I know what that's about, though. John, you talk about it all the time. These service academies are very difficult to play, very difficult to prepare for. Often the only team on your schedule that you'll play that year that plays in that way. So it's very hard to prepare for them. And as such, I truly think the committee put them at 25 because they say, okay, this is rewarding them for being undefeated, but we don't want them anywhere close enough to being able to make that climb and to get into the playoff and cause anyone any difficulty. That's truly how I feel about it. I could be wrong, but that's truly how I see it. And it's really unfortunate the way the committee is always manipulating things. And I get it. It's a TV program and it's all about money, but it's still frustrating because at my core, when it comes to sports, I'm about competition. And I really can't stand, the stuff that these guys, that the committee and so many members of the greater sports community across sports are doing nowadays. It sucks.
Yeah, it's an interesting racket. And so it'll be, Bruce, you know what I want to see is, I want to see if this committee, when they're gauging a 12-team field, I want to see if they are capable of maintaining philosophical consistency with the rationale with which they are placing these teams from week to week. Because it seems to me they had trouble even doing that, putting a 4-team field together. I want to see if they could keep consistent rationale that makes sense doing it with 12. Because I think they crisscross themselves with 4 even week to week, justifying why they do what and change the reasoning around. I want to see how philosophically consistent they could be on what they value, gauging a 12-team field. It's not going to be easy to do. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of comparing apples to oranges, and I don't know how you do that. It's going to be tough.
I think that's exactly the point why they won't do it. They won't do it because they will not be held to account. They won't.
Yeah,
I've been saying this since the 14 playoff, and they won't do it.
Yeah,
and it's obvious.
They can say whatever they want.
Man.
You could say whatever you want to rationalize what you did this week, and then next week do it all different and rationalize it. Yeah, you're totally right. And I don't like Ward Manuel. I don't trust Ward Manuel. His face bothers me. I don't like that guy. So I have a problem with that too.
Yeah. One more quick thing before I get out of here. So as it lines up right now, the playoffs were today. It's Notre Dame at Penn State, which I think is an interesting game. They have great. They're a great defense, but I think Notre Dame defensively could probably match up with them and has enough offense to pull off a couple scores and win that game. But the second game would be Georgia, so that might be the end right there. But again, plenty of time to see how the seedings shake out and how things work out, and you never know with a favorable draw, Notre Dame.
Yep.
I'm not saying they can win a championship. I don't believe that they are complete enough to do that, but they could make a run. Could be good for Freeman, and it could be a springboard to better recruiting, and who knows what goes on from here.
Yep.
So
I'm with you on all that. The biggest thing is you got to be in it to win it. So just keep winning, baby. Just win these 4 more games, and then we see where we're at. You can't afford any slip ups. Bruce, I really appreciate you giving me a call on a Wednesday, man. Thank you, and tell the family I send my regards.
Will do, John. Thanks so much, man.
Have a good one, man. Barry White on the line. 716, you're in the mix. Ryan Elliott, $10 hour. Thank you very much for jumping in. 716, what's going on?
Hey, Johnny, you sound like you're wound up today.
You know what?
I'll tell you something.
I'm excited. I'm excited, man. Notre Dame. I have been worried that this committee was going to stick it to Notre Dame, and you're right where you want to be. And I am eyeballing a home game now, and I just feel relief to figure out where we're at. And I just feel like Notre Dame's in a good damn spot here.
Well, yeah, when you look at what you said about the schedules, okay? Because I did the same thing you did, kind of like a handwritten spreadsheet. So if you look at some of the teams, Tennessee this week has Mississippi State. Then next week they have Georgia.
Ooh.
Then they go to UTEP. Then they go to UTEP. But then they finish up at Vanderbilt. They finish at Vandy. Tennessee does. So think about that. Vandy's got a home game against Tennessee. We know what they're like, the Pavia or the Pavia Mafia.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when you look at this, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. You still have Texas still has to, and the shame about it is the Florida quarterback got hurt last week, man, or I think they would have beat Georgia. I think they would have beat them. They had their number, and he gets hurt by just making a move, and I don't know, it's like he tore his hammy or something because he grabbed right for it and they tarted him off. But so they still have Florida, but Texas also has to play at Arkansas. They're home against Kentucky, and then, of course, the last game at A&M. But Penn State, oh, my gosh, I don't even want to talk about this. Greg McElroy wrote a great article. Like I said, I was reading things while I was listening to you, and he says the most egregious selection was Penn State in this playoff. He says, is the committee now awarding us for close losses instead of wins? And I mean, you have to agree with that. I mean, who they played? Like I said, if you go back and you watch the tape of Southern Cal in overtime, Penn State should have been flagged on both the first and second downs by USC in the overtime for literally dragging the receiver to the ground. We've seen some of that in the Ohio State game, and in in the Wisconsin game too. But who have they got for a big significant win? I mean, who have they beaten?
Yeah.
They had a close loss to Ohio State. So are we getting rewarded for close loss?
Illinois.
Come on.
It's Illinois. Illinois is literally their best win. It's Illinois.
Well, they have Washington home this week. Washington just come off a big win, I believe. And Washington, they played somebody here a couple of weeks ago and lost to them. Was it Indiana? Maybe it was Indiana they played tough. They played somebody where they had to travel back.
I think the last I remembered was them beating USC. Didn't they just play recently? And they beat USC, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think they just beat USC. Yeah, they just beat USC. But a couple of weeks ago, they came east and they just lost to somebody. And I'm trying to think of who it was. But anyways, Penn State is at home against Washington. Then they go to Purdue. But then they have a game that could be a little tricky. They play at Minnesota. Now, Minnesota doesn't have that bad of a team, right? I mean, that could be a tricky game. And then they finish up with Maryland at home, which for Maryland, that's considered for Maryland a rivalry game. And Tennessee, we're talking about Tennessee. Well, they're at Mississippi State. Then they're at Georgia. And like I said, then they play UTEP, then they're at Vanderbilt. Now, look at Georgia. Georgia has to play Ole Miss this week after Ole Miss just come off a shellacking of who was it they shellacked, man? Like it was Jason Dart went crazy. What do you have, 5 or 6 touchdown passes?
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. So Ole Miss, what if Ole Miss has found it? And the game's at Ole Miss.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
well, what does the committee do if Georgia, one of their favorite teams that is loaded with talent, ends up with 2 losses in the regular season. Where would the committee
And
place
the
Georgia?
Conference championship.
It's interesting.
Think about that. Yeah, what if they end up with 2 losses and don't go to the conference championship?
That's really interesting.
So now, then they're at home against Tennessee. Then they play UMass and they play Georgia Tech. So pretty much the next 2 weeks is going to tell on Georgia. Ohio State. Now we get into, they got Purdue at home this week. Then they're at Northwestern. Then they're home against Indiana, and then they're home against Michigan. The only thing we can do there is root for a rivalry upset by Michigan, which you never know in rivalry games like that. You know?
Yep. You never know. What do you think Indiana's chances are of playing with Ohio State? This will be kind of new territory for Indiana, being in that high profile of a game with everything on the line. Indiana's not used to that. Maybe that'll actually play in their benefit because there's no scar tissue and you go out there and go for it. Like, that is going to be very intriguing.
Well, the intriguing thing about that, once again, like I mentioned Monday, is these kids are all from JMU.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been in high profile situations last year. And if I'm correct, I think he took a lot of the I don't think he got a lot of the linemen, but I think he got a lot of the skill players when he came over and they came with him. And that's one of the reasons maybe they're meshing so well. But anyways, yeah, so they're used to that. They're used to that being at JMU under him. And then McElroy has a problem with Texas also, because he doesn't think Texas is really who they are. And he feels that, but here's the crazy thing. He thinks BYU is better than their number 9 ranking that the committee actually had him at. And
that's just tough. That's tough because it's just a matter of this committee not respecting ACC and Big 12 scheduling the way they do the Big 10 and SEC. That much is clear to me. That's the hurdle they have.
Well, and that's true. But what I'm going to say is who has BYU played this year? I realize they're in the Big 12. So let's just take a look at this. They played FCS Southern Illinois at home and beat them 41-13. But Southern Illinois is 2-7. They played SMU away, right? And it's SMU's only loss. They beat them away by 3 points, 18-15.
Yep.
They played Wyoming away and won 34-17. By Wyoming is 2-7. They played Kansas State at home, and that was their best significant win. Well, that and SMU, they beat them 38-9. And outside of 8-1 for SMU and 7-2 for Kansas State, they have not played anybody. I mean, they beat Baylor 34. They only beat Baylor by 6 points at Baylor, and Baylor's 5-4. They smoked Arizona at home 41-19, but Arizona's 3-6. Now here's the real thing. So they play Oklahoma State at home. They lose to them, they beat them by 3 points. Oklahoma State, it was their 6th straight loss, of which all of them are in conference. Because they originally started out, they're 3-6, but 0-6 in the conference. So if they have 6 losses, they're all in conference. And then they played UCF away and beat UCF 37-24, but UCF's 4-5. This week they have Utah, who's 4-4, and they're at Utah. Then they're home against Kansas, who is 2-6. And then now here's a tricky game for them. They're away at Arizona State, and Arizona State is 6-2. And they're tied for 4th in the Big 12. Arizona State can do some balling at home. I don't know, on the road, not so much, but at home, yeah. They're 6-2 in the conference. Well, 6-2 overall. And then they're home with another tricky game because this team just knocked off Kansas State, and that's Houston.
Yeah.
So they still have some questionable games. But the one I look at is Oklahoma State. Are they getting credit for beating a Big 12 team that is 3-6 and lost every game it's played in the Big 12 and only beat them by 3 at home? And then it was a last second win, if I remember correct. They won in the last minute, or the time was running out. Because I can't remember whether that was overtime or it wasn't overtime, but they won in the last minute. Some guy ran for the touchdown, the tight end or something.
So what you're trying to say is a lot of teams have a lot of football left to play, and this thing is a long way from over. I got a kick out of everybody reacting on Twitter last night as if Notre Dame was going to play Penn State and that was it. None of this is going to stay the way it is. There's going to be a lot of changes, so I didn't even waste 1 minute thinking about it. There's a lot of football yet to be played, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Anything else on the playoff? And then I want to hear your thoughts on Florida State quickly.
Okay, so I look at the playoff deal. You got Alabama and LSU this weekend, which we talked about. We need an LSU win. It's sorry to say, but we need it. Because then Alabama plays Mercer, then they're at Oklahoma, and then they're home against Auburn.
Yeah. And you would have the double. It's interesting. If LSU wins, as much as it would hurt me to see Kelly get a big victory, you would have wins theoretically. If Notre Dame goes 4-0 the rest of the way, you would have wins over both teams that beat LSU. So you're automatically kind of blocking them out from being ahead of you because you would have wins over USC and Texas A&M. So that would be very, very an interesting angle.
Exactly. And like I said, I think Penn State is way overrated. Like I said, I go to church with one of the guys who was a defensive tackle walk-on in 72 to 76. Last week, he wouldn't even talk to me because I looked at him and said, "Is all you could get?" I said, "It was 2 field goals."
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And yet they're still there. That's why McElroy was upset. Said, "We're getting rewarded for having close losses." No, it's about who you beat. It's about who you beat. It's not so much about having a close loss, but who did you beat? And who have they beat? Really? I mean, SC has gone down the tubes, and everybody else in Illinois is the only one. So, like I say, they have a pretty favorable schedule if you look at it. But I think Washington and I think Minnesota might give them some trouble. Both those teams. It'd be nice to see them lose to Washington this weekend.
Yeah, it's
as far as Florida State.
Yeah,
Florida State. When you started talking about it earlier, with Charlie Ward, that's his name. I just thought of it. Charlie Ward was the quarterback. We beat Florida State. They're number 1. We're number 2. We take it over. We're in first place. The following week, you want the worst loss in Notre Dame history? From my standpoint, and I'm 72, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
NIU isn't the worst loss. It's when you beat Florida State to become number 1 and you lose to Boston College on a field goal the next week at home.
Yep.
That's you just got them taking over number 1 in the country. And the worst part about that is, and I still have a cassette recording of this because one of the local stations used to do the Pete Rose show. I got in a big argument with Pete Rose about it. I said, Pete, it doesn't matter that they lost to Boston College. They still only gave Florida State their only loss. I said, Florida State's only loss is to Notre Dame.
Yeah. What happened to the head-to-head?
And I said, and we lost to Boston College, but who did Florida State lose to? I said Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I said, so who was the better team that year as far as head-to-head?
Yep. It makes no sense. It was the Lifetime Achievement Award. It was the Lifetime Achievement Award, and they gave it to them and whatever and all the politics, and I hate it. And it's a rough one. But what about this year? They're down. Are we going to put them out, or do you think we give them a chance to rise up?
Well, here's the deal. You got to come out with, like you said, okay, you're ranked with the committee. You're number 10. You got something you got to play for. Like, we'd like a home game. So we got to go out and maul everybody we play. Just go out and give them our best shot and do whatever we got to do. And, and you look at this, depending on how they come in and what they're prepared for at Florida State, the weather forecast that I got was it's supposed to be a high of 59, but as the evening progresses, it's going to be in the upper 40s, and it's going to start raining in the evening. Now, does the evening mean 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock? I'm not that close with my thing yet on the
Dude,
phone.
you know what? I asked the same question. I wrote an article on Sports Illustrated about what the weather's going to be like, and I asked the same question. I need hour by hour. Does overnight mean 5 p.m. when it's dark or 3 a.m.? There's a big window there. I asked the same question. I wanted to know. Hour by hour, I wanted to know.
And your phone doesn't go that far out. It only goes like 2, maybe 2.5 days or a day and 3 quarters. But anyways, it does say it's going to start raining in the evening. I consider evening around dinner time. That's what I consider evening. So it's going to be cold in the 40s.
Yeah.
And rainy.
Give me a little moisture. Give me a little moisture. These guys are not going to want to play in that, man. They're already miserable. They don't want to come in here and get wet, and it's in the 40s and you're a little moist in South Bend and you're 1-8. Who the hell wants to do that? Crush these guys. Allow no hope. Allow no hope.
We can't be quiet on the sideline as fans either. We gotta root for the team and we gotta cheer them on. You can't go into a stadium that's dead and nobody shows up because Florida State's bad record. No, you got to go in and cheer your team on. I mean, you got a team that's playing a game that's in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you should be there supporting them. I mean, no, the wine and cheese bunch. I mean, to them, it's not in their blood for football.
Yeah.
To watch the games.
It's
and that's the sad part of it, You'd wish you could say, hey, I'll come down, buy your ticket from you for $50 and go to the game, because they probably sit in a good seat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this is gonna be really it's gonna be interesting. And Notre Dame's gonna smother them out. Their defense is terrible. That's what's going to happen. Anything on the way out, my friend? Thank you for the dissertation and the breakdown of all the schedules.
Yeah, you're welcome. The only thing I can say is, like I've said before, when you talk to people that play the game, it's 90% mental. As long as Freeman has them in a mental place where they need to be, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
because it's 90% mental.
Well, it's
physical, everything is physical.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's see what kind of mind frame we're in coming out of the break with everything to play for. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Have a good one. Man, that guy comes prepared, man. I could hear him crinkling his notes. I'm not trying to be a jerk, you guys. I'm just not smart enough to always keep up with what he's going over. I'm not trying to be rude about it. My brain doesn't work quick enough to be able to calculate and follow how fast his brain goes. I can't do it. It just doesn't work. 949, you're on the line. What's going on? Welcome to the show. Hello, you're on the air. What's going on?
All right. Well, I just want to call in and let you know I'm excited about this weekend. We got Florida State coming, and I just want us to focus on that. We got to win.
Hey, do you have any concern that Notre Dame's getting excited or reading about their playoff push and where they're seating and who they might play? And can you get a home game? Do you have any concern in the back of your Notre Dame mind that you might sleepwalk against Florida State knowing how bad they are? Or do you think Notre Dame comes out of this break prepared?
I mean, every Irish fan knows that we have a tendency to blow things. So, I mean, we should never get too ahead of ourselves. But
that's true.
And
you're coming out of the break.
Never
That's the other one, man. You're coming off the break, and sometimes that works for you, and other times I feel like it messes up your routine, and you got to kind of wake back up. There's an interesting feel to that. It's a night game, the light show. They're going to do the whole thing, but Florida State's so bad. I want to make sure we maintain our intensity, even though they suck.
Yeah. And you just said it right there, the intensity. I want us to go in. I just want us to keep on with that ruthless mentality that we've kind of adopted over the past few weeks, and just keep on progressing. And that's the one thing with this team this year that I've as of late that they've been able to harness, and I just keep that going. And that's the one thing that the Irish have struggled with in the past. And I'm just happy that they've been able to do that. But
yeah,
stay focused.
Let me ask you this. What do you make of Notre Dame's run, man? After week 2, most people counted them out. They have not lost since. They're riding a 6-game win streak. This record is Freeman's best record at this point in the schedule of the calendar year in any of his 3 years. Notre Dame seems to be trending up. That defense is number 4 in the country, allows 12 a game. Riley Leonard seeming to get more comfortable running the offense. The offensive line's coming together a little bit. They're never going to throw the ball the way we want, but they're trending up overall. Yeah. You got to like it heading into November.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is all you can really ask for, especially after a loss like NIU. But the defense, I mean, honestly, our defense deserves all the credit this season, because there's a reason why we stayed in and we've been even able to have this conversation of developing the offense. And thank God. But really, I think it is just we were so pissed off after that loss that it was just kind of a mental shift.
Yeah.
And it's good. That's the reaction you want from this team. But I just have one question. Me, my wife, and our family are going to the game this weekend, and we're just wondering, where is the best place to go tailgate?
Where are you parking? Do you know where your parking is? Because that has a lot to do with this, man. It all depends on where you're going to end up getting in and parking.
I honestly don't know. Usually we park on the golf course, I think was the last time we parked.
Yeah,
So,
because like it's really kind of tricky. I hate the stadium lot because it's so jam-packed and there's too many people for my comfort level. So I do my tailgates in the north lot, so it's a little less crowded. The golf course is fine. It's not going to have the action the stadium lot's going to have. But to get in the stadium lot, you're going to have to pay for a pass and then sit in traffic getting in and out. So there's a give and a take to everything. Let me ask this. Do you know anybody else that's tailgating anywhere else? Because then you could park at the golf course, have a beer there, and then walk to where all the action is. You could do that too.
Yeah, I mean, I know my whole family's going to be tailgating, so they'll probably find a spot. But I figured I'd ask you.
Yeah,
I'll probably
dude.
just get a 30 rack and just run around.
Bro, I get claustrophobic. And the last thing I want to do is, in this stadium lot is, I'm hosting a tailgate. I want to meet and greet all these people. And then I'm in line for an hour to take a leak at the porta potty. Like, I hate it. It's just a bad use of my time. Literally, it's a bad use of my time. You go in the north lot, it's 2 minutes away, and I have no wait all day at the porta potty. Like, it's too many people jammed in that stadium lot. It drives me crazy.
I don't mind too many people, but
yeah, I get a little, I need a little move. I get antsy and I don't like being in one spot. I always got to be moving. I need a little space. So I avoid that stadium lot unless I'm just walking through saying hi to people. I avoid it. And a part of me doesn't like parking on the golf course. As a golfer, even though it's the off season for golf now, I don't like kind of putting my tires in the golf course. It rubs me the wrong way as a guy who worked at a golf course growing up. But yeah, the stadium lot's a party, man. That's where the action's going to be.
All right, fantastic. Stadium lot's where it's going to be, and I appreciate you taking my call. But go Irish.
No problem, man. Hey, safe travels. Enjoy the football game. Should be fun on a Saturday night. Let's go, baby. Thanks for the call, man. He hasn't called in a year. I'm glad to have him bounce back in. 574, you're going to wrap up the show for us. Let's see what's going on. What's up?
What's up, John?
What's going on, bro?
What's up, John?
What up?
Not much, man. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Close your door. Close the door. No, sorry you haven't heard from me in a while. I got busy with some other stuff.
Yeah, you got busy with what? Speaking on a speakerphone from the other room? Put the phone near your face.
Nah, my social life. And I was actually afraid I wouldn't be able to get on here because my phone's been acting up.
Yeah, it sounds like crap. I can barely hear you. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Can you still hear me good?
Yeah, that's a little better.
Hold on.
All right. Well, that's the end of that call. I don't know where he went. I don't know what happened. I think that was the skateboard dude. I think that was the skateboard guy. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, we ended on a strong note with that one. That's for sure. So here's the deal, you guys. Thanks for the calls. Thanks for the chats. There's a lot of exciting things happening in Notre Dame land, trending up, playoff. All this stuff is right in front of us. Stay tuned for, again, I might have something special for you guys Friday morning, and then we could go live Friday night. That may be something in the mix. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, we're going to have the full Florida State preview, and all that's going to drop tomorrow morning. And then we'll see for Friday. If things go my way, I'll have something special for you guys Friday morning, and then maybe we can go live Friday night to break down the big game. And we'll go from there. But thanks, everybody, for the donations. Thanks for the chats. Listen, Notre Dame's right in the mix. This is for what happened week 2. You are in as good of a position as you could possibly ask for as a Notre Dame fan with that loss. To have all your dreams in front of you here, it's you're in a really good spot. So I need Notre Dame to take care of business the next 4 weeks, and then we see where we're at. Thank you guys so much for being here and for the donations and listening and being a part of the show. Love you guys.